So there's an upside and a downside to going to the base of a waterfall. So we're out here today in an area that we've identified as our trailhead parking area. It's a flat area that is an old loadout site for logging operations of the past and stoning operations of the past, mountain stoning operations. And we thought this was a good site because it's a easy accessible spot on the property. It's already disturbed, so we're not disturbing something that's pristine. We just have to do a little bit of clearing and leveling here to make it a parking area. And I think we make a really large parking area here as well. And so what we're going to do is head off into the woods in this direction, which takes us towards the waterfall and then out towards Avary Point. And as we go, we're going to kind of take a few clips here and there as we're walking through the woods, give you a feel for where we're headed and what this looks like on this trail ahead of our actual planning and building the trail out there on the land. So come on and follow along with us. So we've come inside the woods from the main parking area and wanted to stop just a minute and talk about a few features. You can, if you look around here, you see a really early successional forest. And I'm standing here right next to one of the old stumps. This timber was probably cut 20, 30 years ago, maybe even longer. And you're seeing the regeneration of these poplar trees starting to come back. We call these the light-seeded species. Things like poplar trees and sweet gums, beech trees and other things like that will start to come up a lot quicker and faster than some of the heavier mass trees like hickory trees and oak trees. And then also what we see is like this tree right here is a crabapple tree. Native wild crabapple tree. Got some big nasty thorns on it right here, but it is also an indication that this is a pine oak, or was a pine oak savanna at one point. This is a fire tolerant tree that grows in these fire tolerant environments up on these plateau areas. And what that tells me is this place needs fire. And if we put prescribed fire through it, a lot of these light seeded species will not tolerate the fire. They'll burn out. They'll die, they'll get burnt up in the ensuing fires, and then you'll start to see these small oaks that we see in the distance out here. They'll start to thrive more and become more of this pine and oak savanna with things like these other fire tolerant trees that provide apples to the deer. So we walked a little bit further into this young, early successional forest. And as we're going, we're stopping every once in a while looking at some of the other trees that you might find in an area where there's prescribed fire or wildfire. This is a cherry tree, one of the really important foods to black bears. So the cherries that they make, the black bears will actually climb these trees as they get bigger. This is a very young one here. And they can withstand some of the prescribed fires that we will be putting in place out here. And then we'll be increasing and making better habitat for our black bear population that's out here on the property as well. So we're starting to get a little bit further away from the parking lot and some of that early successional growth. And what you start to see is we're getting into a little bit more mature forest. Even starting to see the mix of the pines coming in that were left behind by the last harvest. Again, showing that this is more of a pine oak savanna. And a couple things we start to see too that are really unique in these areas when we start to come off the bluff side just a little bit is we start to see things right here at my feet like the Christmas fern. And the thing about the Christmas fern that I love is it's just this beautiful green plant that we see pretty much throughout the whole year. What I would like to say about this thing is just appreciate. It doesn't matter whether you know the name of it, whether you know it's called a Christmas fern, it's a common name. You can call it whatever you want. You can make up a name for it. I know sometimes during the summer when the shadows are hitting it, sometimes I feel like it looks like a rattlesnake. So you call it a rattlesnake fern. I don't care what you call it. Just appreciate the fact that the fern's there. Another thing right next to it is kind of interesting in these forests. Everybody gets frustrated with these things right here called sawbriars or catbriars. They're You wonder sometimes, what's the purpose of this? All it does is drag and hang on me and cut my skin and all that. But this is a very important food to the white-tailed deer. And if you look in real close right in here on the tips of these, every one of these has been bitten off. These are what wildlife biologists refer to as forbs, F-O-R-B-S. They become food, the tips are. They can be digestible. And so you'll see all these little tips have been nipped off last winter or this fall already by the deer that are starting to gather food and build up their fat reserves for the winter. And then sometimes during real hard winters, I'm looking if I can see any here. Yeah, right here. So you get into when they're chewing vines that are this big right here, they're pretty darn hungry. These, when they're nipping the little bitty ones right here, the small ones, means they got a lot of food. But the dead of the winter, when they can't find things to eat, they'll start gnawing these way down to the heavier stuff. I'm not sure they get much nutrition out of it because it's full of what's called lignin or woody material. But it's just fun to kind of point out sometimes the things that we seem to sometimes question. What's the purpose of this plant? Why is this thing here? What does it do? Well, it provides berries for songbirds in their fall migration, and it provides food for white-tailed deer and other animals that are seeking forbs. And it also, in real thick, dense cover, can become protection. It can be a bedding place for a deer or an animal to burrow up, like a rabbit. If you go right down here and look, there's a bunch of leaves that are already starting to pile up. And that's a good, safe place for a rabbit to pull itself back up in there and have some sort of safety during the night while it sleeps. So we're working our way towards the waterfall still on our hike. We're up on top. Again, we're in more mature trees. And I wanted to stop here to just point out this pine oak savanna that we've been talking about. You can see these native grasses growing in the forest out here. You've got some right down here at my feet. You see more pine trees. We've got Virginia pines. We've got shortleaf pines in here. We've got a lot of oaks. We've got some big cherries. We've got hickory trees up here. And this is what we talk about when we're talking about a pine oak savanna. Just this different look in the forest. It's up on the plateau. It's some really cool stuff. Really excited about the restoration of these in the future and creating more food, and as I call it, putting more groceries on the ground for the grocery store for everybody, all the animals to come and feed on. Well, I'm not gonna dirty the water up. All right, so we made it to the bottom of the waterfall, which is kind of exciting. It's the first time I've been down here. It's been cold the last few nights, so the ice is sort of building up in the drip line and the splatter from the waterfall itself. It's kind of interesting to see the difference between this tree right here that's protected under this overhang from the frost and how it's still green, and yet then there's ice and fall leaves all around it here from the change of the season that's starting to happen right now. But it's kind of exciting to think we're gonna create a little spur trail that brings you down to the bottom of the waterfall, but then we're gonna have one just above us up here, about 60 feet up. We'll have an overlook up there, and that'll be the spot that most people will go to. Some, if they want to come down to the bottom, they can. It's a beautiful spot. Real excited about this. Can't wait to get started on the project. Need your help to get it done. Thanks a lot. All right, so I just walked up here to the pool at the base of the waterfall, and I noticed something that's kind of a unique thing that I've always loved since I was a kid. These big leaves right here. This comes off the, what I called as a kid, the skinny dipping tree. It's actually the big leaf magnolia, but we always said if we were gonna go skinny dipping as a kid, don't ever strip off until you find one of these trees in case somebody steals your clothes. You got something to cover up with to get back home. So I always love to point these trees out. It's right up here on the side of the bluff. You always find them around streams and wet soils, kind of a mesic forest. Usually big, green, beautiful leaves. They got a great, big, beautiful flower. Biggest flower in the cove. It's probably 7 inches, maybe 8 inches in diameter. Just beautiful white flower and has a really nice seed pod on it, like the southern magnolia. Always neat stuff when you look around, just taking the time to look at little things like that and appreciating the fact that there's that great big leaf there, and what did it come from, and what else is tied to that tree itself. So I can't wait for y'all to get down here and see this. This is a beautiful spot. We're gonna have this thing lined up by next spring for sure. So we're on our way back up to the top of the waterfall. It's a little bit of a hike to get back around. It's gonna be a bun burner, I can tell you that. And I wanted to stop for a minute just to talk about why it's important to have a community of donors on a project like this. It takes all of us to make something like this, happen. And this trail is going to be a really fun trail where the community can come, gather together, share in their likes about this place, share in their work and their passion for this place, because we're going to try to get some volunteers to come and help us build these trails through these rock fields and things like that. To see beautiful places like this, that's an incredible rock feature right there behind me. But it's important for everybody to come together and help. Whether you give a gift, whether you give your time, whatever you can give, come and give to this project. And we're excited to have y'all out to see what we're able to see right now, and excited to have a long-term future of people coming to these beautiful places like this waterfall and the overlook that we're going to have up at the top, and the beautiful trail that runs around the bluff line. So there's an upside and a downside to going to the base of a waterfall. The upside is you go downhill to get to the base of the waterfall. It's beautiful. The downside is you got to go back up that same hill as you went down to get to the waterfall, which I'm almost to the top now. It's pretty steep. This is part of Ranger Rick's cardiovascular training. It's free service. I'm kidding. But you guys got to come out and see this once we get this trail in. I think you'll love this. It's a wonderful way to get outside, to see it, smell it, feel it, hear it, touch it, get a part of it, be a part of it. We're really excited about this trail. I'm really excited about y'all coming out and being a part of it. Okay, so we've made it up on top, headed towards the top of the waterfall. And on the way, we came across this right here, which is a white-tailed deer buck scrape. So the deer, probably yesterday or earlier this morning, came in and cleared this spot out right here on the ground. And you see the dirt and the leaves that he scraped with his hooves over here to open it up. And he uses this in his mating ritual with the females to attract the females by urinating in this, and vice versa. The females will do the same, and he can follow them by their scent. They'll hang around in this area as they get ready to mate. There's also usually interesting, you look up, which is right here is an example, call it the licking branch. These branches above this scrape have been broken off by the deer with his antlers as part of this process. Usually when you find a scrape, it'll be under an overhanging or overarching limb. Not always, but most of the time. And they'll rub the trees around. There's one right over here that they rubbed. This probably the same deer rubbed last year, using their antlers to rub this tree to mark that territory. This is an old scar from either last year or 2 years ago. And they're really habitual to these sites. They'll come back to them year after year as they go through life. And usually they're on a trail, and there is a trail right here. Just another little cool factoid about being in the outdoors and getting out and roaming and experiencing and just seeing things that you don't see when you stay home.